Hi everyone, it's QuickyBaby and welcome back to World of Tanks, and today we've got the pleasure of watching Negrutos once again from the Box Clan. We just had a replay from the Box Clan on this very map just a couple of weeks ago, playing in a vehicle that I think is completely unnecessary. It is the Prototipo 6. So, when Wargaming were creating the Prototipo 6, pretty much, I guess what they were thinking was, okay, we have a perfectly balanced Tier 8 Italian premium medium tank, the Progetto. It's really popular. We want to make another Progetto that is basically just a little bit better in some very key areas so that people will have to get rid of their old Progetto and also their fancy Mars skin and then get the new Prototipo 6. This vehicle is so much better than the Progetto that it is actually getting the most damage per game of any of the Tier 8 medium tanks. That's right, Borask, Astron Rex, all of those vehicles, eat your heart out. The Prototipo 6 is here. I would argue that if you are a good player and then you can handle an auto-reloader, just like Negrutos is going to show here, that it's probably the best Tier 8 premium that you can be able to get your hands on. As you all know, if you watched my review of this vehicle when it was first released, I praised it very highly. And again, I said it was pretty unnecessary because it's just a better Progetto. And Wargaming clearly wanting to put in the power creep of the game to not force players to have to buy a new Italian premium medium, but give it enough of an edge so you feel like, I've got the old one and I kind of want the new one, right? And the problem is that it just means that, like, what are you going to do playing a regular Tier 8? If you compare this thing to a Pantera, it's almost comical the differences. This vehicle has the better alpha damage at 300. It has the better standard pen at 226. Also, for some reason, Wargaming gave it the better gold pen as well at 272. It's also very accurate at .32, more accurate than the Progetto 46, which has the smaller gun, and it also has significantly better camera rating as it is lower profile. The camera rating on this vehicle is pretty much 33% better than you would have on the Progetto 46. And then also, it's more heavily armored. This vehicle's got 10 more millimeters of armor at the front, 5 at the side, which means that it doesn't get overmatched by 105 millimeter caliber guns. And it has over double the thickness of the turret armor, which means that you can kind of go hull down against your opponent's inside nice matchups. But look, the turret armor is still not so good that against Tier 8, let alone 9 and 10 tanks, that it's really going to hold up. So all of these things have kind of added together to cement this thing as now the vehicle that you kind of want to get your hands on. Again, if you know how to play your auto-reloaders. But auto-reloaders, you know, outside of making sure that you don't really go too deep into this tank's mag, because the reload goes from 9 seconds to 11 seconds to 15 seconds. Really showing you that that third shell on this tank is an emergency shell. It's the kind of shell for if you really know that you're going to be out of combat for a little while, or if you absolutely, utterly must finish off the target and you're willing to suffer the extra long reload that will be happening afterwards. So, Negrutos has this thing set up, in my opinion, in a perfect fashion. Bond vents, bomb vert stabs, and even a level 3 experimental turbo. And that's because this is one of the things that the vehicle does do worse than the Progetto. It has worse gun handling. So by double stacking the best kind of equipment, you kind of like negate that disadvantage, and now you can snap and catch those shots, even coming over ridge lines aggressively. And this is what good players like the Negrutos do on vehicles like this. They stack up all of those advantages, and of course you would do on a vehicle like this. And it's one of the things that's a bit hard for Wargaming, because when they release a really good premium tank, because of their multiple systems within systems here and different qualities of equipment inside the game, people are going to put their best equipment on their best tanks, which then pushes them above and then creates these ultra powerful vehicles that's very hard to be able to balance out. Talk about ultra powerful and hard. I've been playing World of Tanks again recently on stream after taking a couple weeks off to catch up on a couple of things behind closed doors as well. But I'm going to be back live once again today, so if you've been missing out on Uncle Scrubby Baby's Twitch streams, I'm happy to be back full-time right now, and come along and get yourself some double drops that will be today as well. I should be live just pretty much as this video does as well. So come along and grab some fresh loot and see why the battlefield's been treating me quite. Actually, I can't tell a lie. Actually, my comeback streams on Friday and Saturday actually went pretty okay. And it kind of makes me think, like, is there actually such a thing as tank rust inside the game? I think you can definitely get yourself out of a mental loop maybe if you take like a really long break. But I think, you know, like 2-3 weeks here, not really such a big deal. Oh, talk about big deal. Missing that ELC even 90 might come back to haunt Negrutos. That is one of the last tanks in the game that you ever want to leave alive. An ELC even 90. Because if you miss it once, you know it's going to come back to haunt you. But man, just look at this damage here. 2.5 second intra clip with 300 damage. And that is one dead tier 7 heavy tank. But does Negrutos manage to have the downtime now? Or will the ELC make the push play? But luckily, you know, on a big open map like this with lots of ridge lines to be able to work, then you do have enough downtime. Now, is Negrutos going to fire a shell here and then go back to having almost negative damage per minute on this tank? Or at least try and like fire cyclically? One of the strengths of auto-reloaders is not just waiting until you're fully loaded, but also sometimes just making sure that you're only firing that second shell. Because the third shell, as I said on this tank, is 4 seconds longer on the reload. But man, that is a juicy target. XM, Negrutos actually switches away from the XM there and puts a shot into the 1 health IMT. Getting guns out the game will be very important right now as their team is down by 3 frags. However, on the other hand, you know, XM57 managing to finish off that tank might be good. Talk about finish off tanks. That poor Comet gets shot down in the middle of the map. Negrutos has now picked up a top gun, but there are still 7 vehicles left on the enemy team that Negrutos is going to have to handle, considering that their team has only managed to actually pick up, is that 1 kill between them so far? Well, 7 left on the enemy team for Negrutos to try and handle here. Does that mean that somebody must have got themselves killed on the enemy team by driving off a cliff? Probably, unless my maths is very bad. 6 plus 1, 7. There's only 7 tanks left on the enemy team, 14. Looks like someone must have managed to actually finish them off. Which means that Negrutos won't actually be contesting for the Rezene Heroes Medal here. So there's 13 kills possibility on the table. How many is Negrutos going to be able to pick up here? Oh, there's the ELC, but luckily the IMT, is that another one? Manages to ricochet off the Prototipo's turret there, just hitting the gun. Interesting that they're using sound detection here, usually a skill that I would only recommend if you are deaf inside the game. As if you've got yourself a good pair of headphones, or maybe you're just playing on like speakers, then sound detection can be useful, especially if you're playing on a laptop, I guess, laptop speakers. Ooh, T-34 2G on the left. Oh, that's a lovely high roll there, which will save Negrutos 200 hit points, and that might be the hit points they need to stand a chance in here. So T-34 2G in the middle of the map, and that's a tier 7 TD. And this tank has a magazine that's big enough to finish within 5 seconds of the first shot. Absolutely wild stuff how much damage this tank can pack against its opponents. You know, it's kind of like a Lorraine that you think about when you think about dumping out that kind of damage. Now, the Lorraine does have an extra shot, but the Lorraine can't reload its shells one by one. The Lorraine doesn't have better camera rating, and the Lorraine certainly doesn't have the armor that this thing has. Oh no, Negrutos misses the first shot, hits the second. The T-34 2G must have received a shell from Arty there, which actually means that Negrutos is able to finish them off and confirms their first frag of this 1 versus 6. Whoa, this is going to be a tough one. So Negrutos' tactic here is, I guess, IMT, XM, T-34-3 must be coming after them. So they're going to actually turn this into a clockwise engagement, hoping that they're going to come after him and figure out that he has to really deal with the artillery. And right now, on 8 kills, Radley Walters medal secured. I guess also Negrutos is thinking, if I can kill both of those arties, I get a Pools medal and I get a Pascucci's. Because in most of these 1 versus 6 situations, are you really thinking about trying to get through in all of them? Or are you thinking about trying to secure those sweet legendary rewards? And probably ace tankers and everything that comes along with them if you're able to finish off 10 enemy vehicles. And now, going in towards the past the cap circle, not going to cap in this situation, because if he caps, then 2 tanks just turn around, and they have literally like a 30 to 40 second window just to get 2 tanks in the cap circle before it's done. Whoa, Negrutos loading standard rounds here. Rolls nearly high enough to be able to finish that M12 off in a single shell, but again, probably going to be cursing their luck there as they're not quite able to do so. And I have to admit, I digress. I wasn't quite focused enough. Did they get spotted in that situation? Again, the camera rating on this vehicle is so darn good that it's quite hard to even get spotted. Oh, they did get spotted there, though. Even tried to pull back behind the bush to remain unspotted, but when they saw that they were spotted, just decided to finish off the M12, which was the correct play. Okay, so Negrutos now 9 kills, trying to find that last Lorraine. There's 1 tank inside the cap circle. That probably means that maybe the T-34-3 and the IMT are continuing to chase through the south, and it was actually the XM57 who managed to go back. But that would just be me guessing. But in these kind of situations, these tense endgame situations, it's all about thinking through what your opponents are probably doing and making sure that you're countering them. And talk about countering them, that Lorraine, ooh, unlucky shot right through the tracks, but luckily that's why you've got these kind of auto-reloader, right? Doesn't matter, you just fire as many shells as you need. Get a bit lucky there with a high roll and a fire into the back of the Lorraine. But I don't think it's really going to matter too much. But of course, you know, having that extra 15-second reload, Negrutos would have been having to reload for another like 14 seconds now when we're taking into account the vents and the premium consumable. Okay, 36 seconds left on the cap. The enemy should realize where Negrutos is coming from now, and they have 10 kills to their name, 3 tanks left standing. It's a 1 versus 3 still, and they are outnumbered on hit points by pretty much triple. So a lovely bush location here to be able to come through, but oh my lord, Negrutos hasn't managed to find anyone. That means the guy's probably behind that little building there. That's where I would expect that he would be, and there he is. XM right there. Even though it was orange, Negrutos clutch shots for 89 base defense points against that XM57, and that is where that double gun handling build with the vents giving the extra accuracy comes into play. Negrutos also then follows it up with a non-low roll against the IMT, and oh my lord, this game just got very exciting. 46 hit points against a T-34-3 that's on 591, meaning that Negrutos is going to be able to have to hit them on average 2 times with a 50% chance to be able to shut them down within 2 shots. So they might 50% of the time have to hit them 3 times in this scenario. Negrutos on those 12 kills, gunning for that 13th. This is just an absolute monster game of World of Tanks and a complete masterclass of auto-reloading action. But also showing us why this unnecessary tank is just so strong. And Wargaming, frankly, pushing the boundaries of balance. Progetto 46 was a perfectly balanced tank, but it wasn't enough. It wasn't enough for them. Wasn't enough for Wargaming's bank balance, but oh dear, talk about bank balance. It's time for Negrutos to take this money down. T-34-3 caught out in the open, and they've actually taken a shell. Oh, Negrutos misses the first, but they don't get spotted. Now they're kind of thinking, like, should they go forwards to get into that bush, or should they fall back to try and get the thicker bushes? Negrutos decides they're going to get spotted if they go back, so they're going to go forwards. But now the T-34-3, we don't know where they are. Are they sitting in that bush? Will this turn into an awkward camp? There's 2 minutes left on the game. What's Negrutos' play? To sit here, to chill, to relax? They're a one-shot. The T-34-3 definitely isn't a one-shot. There's no way that the 300 alpha damage shell is going to roll that high unless a fire happens. Negrutos also has AP shells loaded here, where they've got 3 APCR shells. Maybe it would have been better to start reloading the AP shells, or APCR shells here, but they probably didn't know where the T-34-3 would be. Okay, so Negrutos now goes above, realizes with 2 minutes left that camping there isn't going to help, and there they go, the T-34-3 out in the open. A ricochet. Now they've got an opportunity. They're going to put one through the side. Are they going to follow it up before the T-34-3 reloads? They do! Beautiful stuff. Oh my word. 13 kills. An absolute mammoth game of World of Tanks. What an incredible round. Once again, on the highway map from the Box Clan. Negrutos, congratulations to you on this epic takedown in this frankly very stressful situation. This is just one of those beautiful carries, absolute beautiful carries, where you get to watch great players playing exceptional tanks, just getting through impossible situations. But the only downside when I watched this game was that I was just thinking to myself, if this had been a Progetto 46, I don't think this would have gone the same way. There were so many times here where that 300 alpha damage was so much more useful than the 240 that you'd have on the Progetto, or maybe did Negrutos actually bounce anything? Only 360 damage ricochet, so it wasn't really the turret armor that came into this. but just so many situations I feel where this vehicle wins where the Progetto 46 wouldn't. And it's also really sad for everyone who got a Mars or got themselves a Progetto 46 that there's this new kid on the block that, whether they like it or not, like, demands consideration. So the Pools medal here for those 13 kills, one shy of a Resene Heroes medal. And yeah, the AMX AC46 did actually crash in that battle, and they got themselves 69 W and 8. Nice. Negrutos also picks up a Pascucci's medal for finishing off those 2 artillery. The Kolobanov's the one that everybody wants for standing alone against at least 5, in this case 6. A high caliber for that massive 6,400 damage, triple what anyone else on their team was able to achieve, and a Defender medal for protecting against that XM57. And as this is a full-blooded premium tank, Negrutos, even though they spent 86,000 credits on ammunition and resupplied their consumables at full price, don't do that. Buy them in bulk. Buy them in bulk. There's going to be a sale, I believe, next weekend on consumables, so spend all of your credits on them so you can avoid paying double what you would otherwise do, but still makes 54,000 credits. So, Negrutos, congratulations to you on this mammoth game of World of Tanks, and thank you so much for uploading it on the What Record website for the community to enjoy. I thoroughly did, which is why I wanted to feature it on YouTube today, and I'm thinking I'm going to have to dust off my Prototipo 6 a little bit, but who am I kidding? I'm not going to have a game like this. Anyway, ladies and gents, boys and girls, that's it for today. Really hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give it a thumbs up. If you hated it, give it a thumbs down. And let me know what you think about the Prototipo 6 in the comments down below. Do you think it's just clearly that much better than the Progetto 46? And if you're watching this video as it's released on Monday, once again, I'm going live all day on twitch.tv/QuickyBaby with 2 new sets of drops. So come along, grab them, and catch a few, hopefully, reasonable games at the same time. So really looking forward to seeing you all live right now. And as always, thank you so much for watching. You've been epic, and hopefully I'll see you soon.